Hello, can you guys hear me?
Okay, we're looking. Okay, this must be it right here. This is live. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna hang up on this time.
Okay.
Okay, he's on.
You see me waving?
No, I don't know if he's on that. Yeah.
All right.
Hang on a second. Let me figure out the audio.
It probably will be on the delay. You guys can chat with me through the live stream. Oh, I see. It says one viewer in here. Okay, that must be you. So I'm just trying to set it up so I can turn this music off because the music is so annoying. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna have to end the call. I'll call right back. So I think I can't. It doesn't. It's not letting me use the app while I'm on the phone. Let's see here. If I switch this and switch this. Okay, so now I should be able to do this. Why? This is acting so weird right now. What the heck? Alright, so I got a bunch of sketch pads and stuff right here. I know the delay and it won't let me turn this music off. Don't go nowhere. 1 second. I'm trying to get this squared away. 1 second. Alright. This app acts so funny sometimes. That's what I wanted to do. Turn that music off. Flip the camera around. Now, we're good to go. So, like I said, Juice, what's good, bro? The delay might be a little bit too much for the phone, but what I essentially wanted to show you is, I don't even know what all that is. So, that might be a good one. So, like I said, what I try to focus on is light and shadow. And the greater the greater the amount of contrast that you can have between your very light, basically white areas and your darkest areas is what makes anything looks round. Everything depends on light. And the more you can understand light and manipulate your light and shadow, the better your art will look. So this is just an old sketch pad. No real light and shadow source, so it looks flat. Looks very flat without light and shadows. But I thought I just had a good one in here. Once again, the more you can have contrast in where your light source is at and where your shadows are at, it just makes the art look more believable and more three-dimensional. And like I say, your stuff is really good. You just have to make your dark areas a little more darker. Grab you some books like this. How to Draw People. This really helps with form and shape, dealing with movement and action, and basically learning a little bit about anatomy. The difference between a baby's face and an adult's face. Something I love to do is try to simplify your sketches as much as you possibly can. And like you said, you just start off with a circle, and the more you focus on big shapes, circles, triangles, ovals, and rectangles, you can put those together and make more complex shapes. But you already explained that you understand like how to start off from a simple form. The pencils I use very basic. I mean, you can spend lots of money on like really expensive pencil sets, but hey, a pencil is a pencil. I love mechanical pencils because you don't have to sharpen them. But I have some fancy pencil sets, and I don't normally use them. I mean, they're cool to have, but you don't need really expensive pencil sets. Like I say, this is like my go-to stuff here. And yeah, mostly I just use regular number 2 pencils. They work fine. It's all about the pressure, how much pressure you apply. Let's see what we have in here. So this is a gray tone paper. You can really tell the difference, like gray paper versus the white paper. Drawing on gray paper helps a lot too. It'll really help show you where your light areas are at. And so in order to make the highlights on here, I actually had to use a white pencil, a white coloring pencil, because the paper isn't white itself. So when you're trying to deal with light sources and show where the light is coming from, working on gray paper is really good practice. Hands. I saw this one good tutorial where you take, let's see if we can do it real quick right here. You take a latex glove, and I've actually never done this, but it definitely seems like a good way to do practices on drawing hands, get you a glove, and if you outline the fingernails and where your knuckles bend, and what you're doing is, once again, hands have a lot of different surfaces to it, and even for some of the best artists, it's hard to simplify the hand. Like we just said, it's easier if you can simplify anything into the larger shapes, and then break the shapes down and add the details from there. But I saw someone do this. And so now, like, it'd be way easier just to draw these lines here, so you can pose your hand any way you want, and just draw the lines you see, and then shape the hand around that. We can do the palm as well, and then where your knuckles bend, just put guidelines there. And so now you can kind of see, like, you can have guidelines which are very simplified, and you can move your hand any way and just practice drawing hands. Uh, Hands and feet are the most difficult things to draw. Once again, because they have so many surfaces and the light changes so much, and how the skin on your hand is very translucent. You ever like pick up a flashlight or a really bright light and shine it through your hand, and your hand kind of glows a little bit? Um, and so when light hits the hand, it has a lot of different tones and variations to it. And the main thing about drawing hands: practice, practice, practice. That's the only way anybody gets good at anything. Basketball, swimming, skateboarding, whatever you want to do, you just gotta practice at it. I don't know how to surf at all. I've never been surfing, but if I go surfing, twice a week for the next 2 years, and 2 years from now, I'll be way better at surfing than I am now. And that's just with anything. The more you practice and practice and practice, the better you'll get at it. There's no way around it. If you want to get better at drawing hands, you grab your sketch pad and draw a hand. Do that once or twice a week, and focus on certain body parts, hands, arms. Like you say, draw the circle to start the face. A very, very reliable technique. Always starting with the main shapes, really big ovals and circles. And these turn out to be nothing but just practice, Practice drawing a hand. And that's just my hand sitting like this because I love to draw and I didn't have anything else to do. So I'm gonna practice drawing my hands and make sure that I'm proficient at it. Just draw a nose. Do you use your eraser for light after shadowing? That's a very good technique, is to erase some of the darker spots to make highlights. Normally I just try to leave white areas white. Here's another hand. You know why I sketch hands a lot? Because they are hard to draw. Hands are really difficult. They just are. And so you just got to practice more and more. And to make sure that the proportion of the fingers, trying to help somebody else draw a hand. Why? Because these are some of my student drawings. So yeah, even when I give lessons sometimes, like hands are some of the first things we do, because they're not easy. And so everyone should practice drawing hands every once in a while. I'm happy I kept these drawings. I forgot they were in here actually. And then I have tons of sketchbooks that never really get finished, and that's cool too. So here's some of my high school stuff. Can I trace my hand on a piece of paper? Of course you can trace your hand on a piece of paper. So, none of this stuff is dated, but I was in high school, probably like 10th grade, doing this stuff. And like I say, for the most part, everything is flat. Because I really didn't understand light and shadow as much as I do now. But over the years, is there any? Once again, just like kind of like comic booky looking stuff. But well, I guess this is all old. So this is probably one of the first pictures where I tried to do like definite realism and make a person really look like a person, but still really having a trouble with contrast, making my darks dark enough and my lights bright enough to give it that three-dimensional effect. I draw horses too, or attempted to draw horses. And then after a while, I don't know where my, actually I don't know where my good sketch pad is at. The one that has like some decent drawings in it. Is it this one? And so now when I draw, you just press hard. You get that real darkness in there. It's all about the shadows. It's all about making it dark where it needs to be and keeping those bright highlights. And all of these, none of these are done. These are just practice. You just practice. Really practice and focus on your light source. Where your light is coming from. How does it bend around the object or the subject? Textures are really difficult too if you want to make something look smooth or if you want to make something look rough, but that's for a later lesson. Yo, Bronx and Juice, I'm actually giving a little bit of mentoring advice to a young aspiring artist. He has the talent. He is a true artist. He's just young, that's all. So in the next couple of years, this guy is going to be the next thing, you know, the next big thing coming out of Hartsville. This is kind of a poor example. The proportions are right. The features look nice, but you can see that there's not a lot of contrast. And so her face looks a little bit more flat than his face does. You can see the different planes and the different levels of his face because that contrast is so stark between one and the other. So the more you can build up your contrast, the more round and realistic your figures will look. And so once again, it looks kind of flat. I mean, it's shaded. I did shade it here and shade it there, and so you can see my shadowing on there. But it's not as deep as this one is. It's all about light, and making the light work for you. Here's another, and you don't have to finish every drawing. At your age, right now, honestly, it's going to sound kind of weird, but almost everything you do is practice. Even if you finish and complete a drawing, it's kind of like practice for where you want to be. When I started painting, the first few years that I was actually creating paintings, I thought like, oh, I'm a painter and I just did this painting. And like years later, I realized like for several years, I was just practicing on getting to the point where I want to be. And that is really being able to control the light. Once you can control the light in your artwork, there's nothing else that's going to stop you. And like I say, don't be ashamed or embarrassed if you don't finish a drawing. That's what a sketch pad is for. We're sketching. These pads are meant for practice. Some people do full blown art in their sketch pads, but essentially this is just to practice, to get us to the point where we want to be. Most pictures in my sketch pad are not finished. It's a sketchbook. How do you come up with ideas with that? Yes, I spilled. It was actually apple juice that I spilled on the book. But there are no real ideas to come up with. You just do whatever you feel like doing at that time. You see a pretty face, you want to draw it, you draw the face. You see an interesting object like a vase or a teapot, and you think it looks cool, and it's sitting on a table with the light shining on it, and you're like, you know what? The contrast on this glass from the sunlight is so sweet. Let me sketch that out real quick. A real like start of something that I never finished this drawing, but Baba Boy, what's up? But I did actually use this as a reference for a painting that I did. It's all about the shadows. It's all about the light. So, like I said, some really good. Who want to block this guy? Should I block him? Should we let him slide? Because you got to come with a funnier joke than that. Is this Snoop Dogg from Wish? Come on, man. And now he wants to say, just kidding, LOL. You're about to get banned from the stream. This is all about art and education. You want to be funny? Take the ha 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 somewhere else. Not really. I do practice on draw distance, just using lines. It's normally I do that for like landscapes when you're trying to figure out like images that are moving away from you or moving towards you, or like cityscapes and the angles from different buildings. If you're standing and you have this certain perspective, is either a second or third perspective of how you want to see that, you can always use lines and use your vanishing points to make sure that all your lines connect and come together at the vanishing point. And so that way you can draw like cityscapes and have everybody still look proportionate, no matter if they're closer to the viewer or if they're supposed to be further in the background. Using vanishing points on your horizon definitely helps a lot to understand that. And more just like little concepts. I think that's really all the good stuff in there. Oh, this is basically a finished drawing. So just drew a little picture of a bird, and I did this with pastels, I think. And so still focusing on the light, you got a really deep shadow here. And the contour of the orange piece, trying to get the bright highlights that reflect off the feathers and off the eye of the bird. It's all about playing around with the light. And like I say, the more you can understand light, the better all of your artwork will be. And once again, the pencil that I have in here is just a regular, nothing special at all, just a mechanical pencil. And so learning all the HBs and all that stuff with like technical pencils is great. It's definitely good to have an understanding of a softer, the more soft a lead is, the deeper the color will be, the darker it will be, and the harder the lead is, the lighter the color will be. It's like I said, it's very good information to learn, and I can trolls out today, and I can send you some YouTube links from some artists who give like really good in-depth tutorials as well, because I don't know everything and I'm not good at everything, and that's why I still practice and I try to be in the studio every day. I don't make it in the studio every day, but I try to work on some type of art almost every day for a couple of hours a day, and that's that consistency, that persistence. And the more consistent you are with creating art, the better you're going to get at creating art. Once again, just like every day, just like shooting free throws. I can't shoot a free throw to save my life. But if I practice shooting free throws from the baseline, I would probably get better at it. And the more consistent I am with the practice, the better my free throw shot I get. It's the same thing with art, yo. I can't stress it enough. Practice and consistency, and practice and consistency. And you will get better over time. You will start to notice things about reality. Like I say, just the way light hits certain things. You know, I can see the shadow from this cup right here, that the light is making that little shadow right here. I always pay attention to the light and shadows of everything. And the more you can focus on that, the more your art will look three-dimensional, and the better you'll be at it. And so, like I said, two exercises that I really want you to do is, the next time you feel like drawing a full picture of anything, try using the grid method. Put the grid on your reference image or whatever you're looking at, and then try to transfer that over onto a larger grid. And then second of all, really, really, really pay attention to the light. Getting those shadows nice and deep where they need to be, and keeping the highlights bright where they need to be. Like this really deep shadow under my chin and these super bright white highlights on my forehead because the light source is above me. So the light is beaming down. My forehead is big and round, so we're going to have this rounded bit of light here. The contours of the face, the light from the window here is casting here, so this side is really bright white, and it cools down over here till it looks reddish, like a reddish brown tint, and then the very deep dark shadows under the chin where no light is reaching. And so focus on that. What about Prism color pencils? Yeah, I think Prism are like oil color pencils. They just fancy, you know. I normally just work with some basic stuff. Really, I don't think I've ever owned a pack of Prism color pencils. You know, I've never owned anything. Come on, man. I use Crayola, man. Come on, man. The classic. You know why? They're preferred by teachers. You don't have to. I mean, Prism color pencils, I've seen artwork done with them, and it does look pretty nice. But you can get the same effect with some create your own color pencils. These are just no name. Oh, Debbie Lynn. So my some woodless color pencils. I don't know. And here the pencils I draw with. Some number twos. Up. A whole nother box of just like regular number 2 pencils. Nothing really special. Nothing really fancy. I'm not saying that fancy stuff is bad, but you can do the same thing with just regular supplies. Just regular supplies. And over the years, I've always contemplated, maybe I should get me some Prism color pencils. And then I pull out my Crayola color pencils and sharpen them up, and it's like, oh, these will work just fine for me. You know, they do the same thing. Oh man, I almost tripped over that. Do I have? I don't really. Well, this piece is a good example of light and shadow. How right around his eyes and his nose is really bright, and then underneath his chin is dark, and his hands are behind. Or the book is casting a little shadow, so his hands are even darker. All about the play of light and shadow. And this piece that I'm currently working on, good old Crayola. I've been working on the hands for a while, and so you can see the difference. So when I create paintings, I do multiple layers, and so this is the first layer of paint, and you can still see how dark and just like blocky this hand looks compared to this hand, which has more lighter areas on it and more contrast. And that's just really just trying to focus on the light. Where is the light at, and where are the shadows? Where is the darkest part of the image? Here, right underneath the armpit, is the darkest part. So the more contrast you can have between your darks and your lights, the more round things look. And so my next part of this painting is to start detailing this hand right here, and in order to get those nice bright areas into it, so it'll look more like this. But painting is another thing. You can understand drawing first, which you already do. I can see it's a word for that. A word for what? In your art, I can already see you got the talent, young man. So and some people think painting is hard, but it's not. Painting is easy. Learning how to draw is the hardest part. You can't paint anything if you don't have something to paint, and you have to draw it first before you paint it. Unless you're doing like abstract stuff where you just slinging paint and canvas, then you don't have to draw anything. But once you've gotten a pretty good hang over drawing, and you can understand proportion and light and shadow, then painting is just coloring it in. It's basically like a coloring book. You get your image on the canvas, and you put the appropriate colors where they need to be. And so that's today's lesson. So we only focused on one major thing, the first major thing, and that's because you're already advanced beyond like the basic fundamentals of understanding shapes, circles, squares, triangles, ovals. All these shapes combined make more complicated images, and so just by you having an understanding of how to start from a circle and build other shapes onto that circle until it looks like a horse. Those are the fundamentals. You have that completely down packed. Um, so what we want to do is focus on uh, perspective and proportion, so that everything looks even. Everything looks in place. Like I say, you don't want to have a man with one arm that's too long and one arm that's too short. So working on proportions, which the grid method is a really good exercise, and I'm going to keep stressing this as long as I can stress it. Understanding light and shadow. That's the major thing when it comes to producing a piece of art. If you want it to look realistic, you have to understand that light source. Where is the light coming from? How much of the object is in direct light, is in partial light, and how much has no light on it at all. Do I have trying to find a better example. So this series right here, this was all practice for light and shadow. So I took these pictures in a completely dark room with one light source shining in one direction, and it's directly on my face. Oh my God. Maybe if I turn this out, let's see. Did that help a little bit? Not really. There's so much glare in here. The glare is too strong. I'm trying to get it to a point. Okay, that may not be too bad there. But just seeing how, once again, the light source is here coming down. So you're going to have the brightest parts towards the light, and the darker parts, that major deep contrast into where the light source is at here, very, very, very deep dark shadow, but then it almost instantly transitions into a lighter tone because of the light source. And then you have your rim light on the back. So very, very deep shadows, very smooth transition, very bright, bright highlighted areas. It's all about light. How many colors did you use for that painting? Several. So I normally paint black people. This is my color palette for skin. We have dark browns, dark reds, dark yellows, lighter yellows, orange and green, white, and this is actually blue. And our skin tones are very dynamic. And so using, like I said, a good variation of browns and reds, you can create a very dynamic skin tone. So, Rocket, appreciate you for coming into the stream and allowing me to share some of the processes that I've learned over the years, some of the things that I know actually works when it comes to producing art. Oh, sure. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I stream very often. Juice Danger and a couple of the other guys in here. I tell you, I've been doing this for years. I enjoy doing it. I love to create art. I love sharing my art with people. I love sharing the process of creating art with people who want to learn. Um, Most of my homies just watch my stream just so we can chit chat and talk about whatever, you know. But every once in a while, I do get like a student who wants to actually learn how I draw or how I paint or how I come up with concepts and ideas, and I'm always willing to share that information, especially with a young budding artist who really has that talent. So, like I say, I've seen your work. The talent is there. All you have to do is stick with it. That's it. You're you're gonna get better. Um, like you say, you don't really have no competition in your art class right now. Like you're the art guy, you know. And so yeah, stick with that passion. Um, I got teased a lot for being the art kid because you know we supposed to be playing basketball and football, and I just was never into that stuff. That just wasn't my cup of tea. And oh, you a punk, you just want to go in the house and draw anime all day. Yep, I do. Yes, I do want to just go in the house and draw and paint all day, and that's perfectly cool. So don't let the peer pressure get to you. Um, don't let your peers discourage you about your art. Um, don't let your teachers give you too many harsh critiques because you're still developing your style and you're still learning. So in 5 years from now, you'll look back and see how much progress you've made. And yeah, so whenever you got free time, if you see that I'm in a live stream, feel free to pop in and we can chat some more about art and we can work on some art together. I was as a matter of fact, let's get some brushes wet real quick. and see what we can do in the next 30 minutes. I'm home a little late today. I had a meeting after work. So normally, another thing with creating art is a routine. So try to find a routine for yourself. And like I said, if you can't work on your art every day, um, just try to carve out a section of the day. And like I say, it might not be every day, but if it's right before school or soon as you get out of school, depending on what other activities you have going on, or if it's just on Saturdays and Sundays, you have to carve out a little section of time for yourself as often as you can, and try to make it the same time. And that's how you build a routine and you get into the habit of producing art, of being in that flow state. So mine is right after work. I get out of work at 2:30. It's about a 30-minute drive for me to get home. As soon as I get home, I take off my work clothes, I throw on some art clothes, and I come in the studio for like 2 hours. Even if I don't get a lot done, even if I sit in the studio for 46 minutes just talking to people, I'm still in the studio. I'm in my art space. So just try to carve out that time for yourself where you dedicate, a certain amount of time to your art, where there's no interruptions, there's nothing to distract you, and if it's even if it's just 30 minutes or an hour, you know, try to find a way to be consistent with it. Um, I say the best time would probably be just right after school. You get home, you got some homework or whatever, knock that stuff out. That's the thing. It don't matter. It don't matter. Draw your hand. Take your socks off. Draw your foot. Take a picture of your mom. Draw your mom. Take a picture of your cat or dog. It don't matter what you do. Do something. And then, over time, you'll figure out what you are interested in drawing and the type of images you want to create. Um, I like drawing myself, as you may be able to see. you know, I draw myself all the time. If you ain't doing nothing but drawing yourself every day over and over and over, that's fine too. So not knowing what to draw, hey man, ain't no excuse. That ain't no excuse not to draw. You know what? You can. You ain't got nothing to draw. You find your pencil. You set your pencil down like that, and draw your pencil. It don't matter what you draw. As long as you're building that muscle memory, as long as you're examining light and shadow, it doesn't matter what it is. You can draw your lunch. You just had some hot dogs and fries. Draw your hot dog. Try to draw a French fry. And don't hesitate about it either. Oh, I ain't got nothing to draw. You got a pair of sneakers, right? Put your sneakers up there and draw your shoe. And make sure that it has enough light and shadow contrast where you can produce a shadow with it. And draw that. That might take you a couple hours. There's always something to draw. Always. Um You know what? Actually, I may want to. I don't know. Let's see if I might work on the arm, but start to the top and come down. Cause this arm right here is the last part that I need to put another layer of paint on. So instead of starting at the hand at the bottom and coming up, I'm gonna start at the shoulder and come down. And it's always a struggle. That's why you see the struggle on my face. It ain't easy all the time. Sometimes you gotta struggle with it. Sometimes you gotta apply that pressure. So, and my foundation layer is there. I just need to hype the tones up a little bit. Man, guys, you don't even know. I'm on the third floor. Whew. Man, it's so hot on the third floor right now. So I actually want to make this a little more reddish. There's going to be a deeper red for this portion of the shadow. And see, my paints are always sitting out, and so they dry easy. And that's how I know if I'm not being productive enough. If I come in the studio and all of my paints are dry, it's like, dude, what have you been doing? You let your paints dry out. You should never let your paints dry out. So I'm just playing around with this shadow here, trying to build it up a little bit, make it a little more intense. You see how well I do. Kind of roughly blend that in a little bit there. And then actually it lightens up a little bit lighter than that. Let's see. So something like that. And I'll switch over to a little bit bigger brush now. That could probably be a little darker. Right on the rim of this shadow here. And then we have the contour of this muscle here. Comes out kind of like that. And it comes there. It may be a little bit darker. Maybe a little darker right here. And then right next to the face, there's a lot of bright light right there. Just put a bunch of white. Right there. And then right underneath the curve of this muscle is pretty bright right there. and that's gonna come down and here. Kind of like that. And then the color starts to deepen again right about here. So I want to have a transition from this pectoral muscle to up into the shoulder muscle. It looks something like that, maybe. Let me pick up some orange, a little bit of orange, not a lot. I'm gonna put a little bit of orange. No, probably a little bit more than that. Right in here. And then it lightens up again. Kind of, it lightens up like right here a little bit. And that same tone is probably right there as well. And I'm just turning the light sources into shapes. There's really big blocky areas. Block that out like that. I want this to come down a little more right there. I think I'm gonna have to add some more colors to my palette. Alright. This is looking pretty good though. The shoulder is coming out pretty nice. Got a little bit more, get some more of this contour on the curve. Here, maybe just a little bit darker. Okay, like that. Right there. Dipping back into the orange again. I'm gonna mix the orange with a little bit of yellow. Make that nice peachy color. What is that? Get off of there. Alright, so now that I've blocked in a lot, let's take a blender brush. And I just want to start in the white area. Yo, Borderline, what up? Never seen you use big brushes. I know, man. You get more details with the smaller brushes, man. Smaller brushes get into smaller areas. Just trying to get the contour of this shoulder muscle. And I honestly think I may have brought down one color a little bit too far down. So try to get it like that there. This right here looks pretty good. I'm gonna soften this up. Notice I'm trying to stay away for right now. I want to blend that in last. Alright, this little highlight right there. And then let's try to get this dark shadow to blend in with us here. Want to just pull it down a little bit. And then I'm going to pull it this way a little bit. And then I want to feather this out and make that a lot softer than what it is. Make it real soft. Kind of like that. But here, I think this tone needs to come up a little bit more. I think I brought it down a little too much. So let's see if we can even that out. Just right here a little bit, just like that. I didn't bring it down too much, but further than what I wanted it to. I'm gonna keep running this same color here. And then I want to pull this, soften this up a little bit. All right, that's not looking too bad. Yep. Come on, camera. Stay on point. So yeah, just trying to get this part right there. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can work on this shadow and that shadow there. I'll grab my smaller brush again. Go back into some of these darker tones. See if we can make that a little darker. There it goes. Nice and dark, something like that. I'll probably just use that same color here. Alright. There's Running out of paints on the palette. I really don't want to add any more paints to the palette right now because I probably won't be in here much longer. So I'm going to try to see how much I can cover with this. Alright, we're going to have like a bright spot there. And this shadow right here kind of meets this lighter area. So we're going to try to blend that right in, right there like that. Blend that a little bit. Can lighten that up some. And then let's try to come off of this, the back of the arm next to the tricep. So we're gonna pull this shadow down a little bit, not too hard, but we do want to soften it up some. And kind of pull it down like that. Add a little bit more light tones here, not exactly a white, but a nice yellow, pinkish color. See if we can get that in there, like that. Just block it in, block it in. Gonna come back to this deep golden orange, or I mean golden ochre. And you want this transition right here. I might add a dab of red in there, just a little bit to darken up that yellow. Yep, just like that. Then let's see how we can blend this in there. Really want to soften that armpit shadow up, but I'm gonna do that after I get these right here a little soft. Now we're gonna feather this out. Soften that shadow up like that. Actually, I think that is think this came down a little too much. So let's kind of push that shadow back up there. Nice. Alright, pushed it back. And then soften this shadow a little bit. Like that. And now slowly we're building up the shape and the contrast. And this layer of paint right here will really define the final tones and shades of the skin. And like I say, I normally paint maybe 3 layers on a canvas. Okay, that looks good. And then right on the back side here, I got a lot of little grit or whatever in my paint right now. It's kind of annoying. I'm gonna bring that down to right about there. And then we're gonna blend these two in together. Blend that the shadow on the back of the the tricep with the curve that comes around to form the bicep. All right. And at the end, I want to take a larger soft brush and just get one final blend in there to kind of mesh everything together. And that didn't take too long at all. Alright, and I think I may call it quits for right now. Like I said, I got in a little bit later than normal. I had a meeting after work, so that kind of ate up an hour of my time. And we've been in here for an hour, which is cool. And so now, I'm gonna go get ready for dinner. Probably play some video games or whatnot. But yeah, little by little, I'm just putting the last little touching details on there, and now you can see the transition again from this layer of paint that doesn't look that great, and you slowly just build on top of the layers of paint and slowly add your tones, your shadows, your bright highlights from the light source, the detailing in the hands. And so tomorrow, in my next stream, this will be the portion that I focus on now. So if I can just get this forearm done, and the hands do take a while, I can probably work on his hand for an hour alone. You know, just trying to get the skin and the knuckles and all the wrinkles. And I got old man hands, so my fingers have a lot of wrinkles and veins and stuff. So I'll just take my time and be patient with myself and just work on this little piece tomorrow. And this one is almost done. I'll finish this hand out, and then I'll detail the hair, and I think that will be it. And then we'll move on to the next painting. So this is a 4-part series. Number one is right there. It's me crawling out of a very, very dark space in my life. It's almost like overcoming depression or overcoming any kind of obstacles where it feels like you're trapped in this dark pit of despair, this black hole of depression. And sometimes on your way out of that space, you're reaching for help, you're grasping for something, and nothing is there to help you. And so you have to struggle and push and pull your way out of this dark space. And then you can emerge, and then you can walk into a brighter uh, mind state, a brighter disposition, a better place in your life. So it's all about the struggle, coming from a very, very dark, it's real dark and like all these negative energies, um, forcing your way through all of that, and then being able to come into a brighter, higher level of consciousness, a brighter level of understanding. Um, and so I'm really enjoying this piece. This series has taken me a while, but yeah, I like it. And I like the abstract backgrounds as well. I'm not really an abstract guy, but that's the only way that I was able to convey these ideas, this the concept of struggle and overcoming adversity, no matter what it is in your life, and just trying to be your best self, your brightest self, your most beautiful self, you know, after you go through all this struggle and hardship and trials and tribulations and overcoming the difficulties in your life, whether they be mental or emotional or physical, all of us go through stuff and it gets us down sometimes. But that's no reason not to literally fight your way to a better place, you know. And sometimes we have to do it alone. Sometimes you can grasp for help and there's nobody there to pull you up. So I know you said you don't know what to draw all the time. Draw anything. Draw whatever you want to. That's something that's taken me a long time to even get to this point where, yeah, it looks kind of weird or whatever. Dude is naked. But that's what I want to do. That's the images that are in my head. And since I have a passion for this thing, I'm going to create the art that I want to create. And it may not be for everybody. Everybody might not like it, but that's cool too. This is therapy for myself. And for the people who do understand it and who do find that connection with it, that's just a bonus. That's just a plus. That's something additional. And but that's the thing with art. If you create art and you like it, you're not alone. Someone else out there will always appreciate your artwork. They will appreciate your time, your effort, and your ideas. That's the main thing about art is the idea, the concept. What are you trying to say? What's going on in your mind? So, grid method, focus on light and shadow, and do a bunch of hand sketches. Hold your hand like this. Try to draw it like that. Hold your hand like this. Or however you want to hold your hand. Like this. Or peace signs. Or it don't matter. Just hold your hand. Hold something in your hand. And just try to draw that. And it ain't going to be perfect. You just practice. And the more you practice, the easier to get. I appreciate everybody stopping in the stream today. Once again, chilling in the studio with me. Checking out some art. Rocket and Shay, really appreciate y'all reaching out to me. Uh, that means more than anything, you know. I can sell paintings or whatever, but giving that insight and um, having a direct effect on a young artist, that's the best gift in the world, and it's priceless. So thank you guys again. I hope you subscribe to the channel, and I'm in here quite often. So we'll catch you around next time. Peace.